Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. J Leonard Costner, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited about our time together. So as we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it, right? So with your permission, we're going to have you start with where you were born, go all the way up to today, and then we're going to talk about these books that you're writing. I mean, I know you mentioned before we hit record that you have 5 that you've written. Your third one's coming out April 1st, which is super exciting. And so we want to talk about that. I want to talk, obviously, because I'm big into history, as you can tell. I want to talk about 1 and 2, right? Because it's a series, it's a legacy series, right?
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course,
so we
yes.
want to talk about that and just kind of talk about how that is evolving, We don't want to give up anything, but you know what I mean, right? Just
yeah.
kind of the inspiration behind it, okay?
No worries. All
Cool
right.
deal, buddy. Well, thank you so much for being here. So where were you born?
Yeah, so I was actually born in New Jersey. And 6 weeks, at 6 weeks old, my family moved to France. So we lived in
Wow.
France, Montpellier, for a year.
Why France?
So my father was a professional basketball player.
Oh, there you go. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, basketball is a family business, right?
Yeah.
He played at St. Joe's, then was drafted by the Sixers, played for the Bullets, and then spent the majority of his career overseas.
Wow.
So I was raised European for the most part, right?
There you
So
go.
after France, moved to Italy for 2 years, to Udine,
Yeah.
northern Italy, and then majority of my time was in Athens for
Yeah.
9 years.
Okay.
So after we moved back to the States about 2000 or so, started playing basketball. My dad retired. I got into the kind of pee-wee leagues.
Yeah.
And that just kind of blossomed, took off. I was raw. Then I got, put the work in, got talented. Ended up being a pretty highly touted basketball player.
Cool.
Played D1 at St. Peter's.
Okay.
People may know St. Peter's from their, Cinderella run.
Yeah.
3 years ago now.
Yeah, it's 3 years ago. Yeah. Or
Yep,
4,
ended up losing
something like that. Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
ended up
somewhere in
losing
the neighborhood.
to UNC.
When you moved back, where did you
Yeah.
move to from Europe?
So we actually moved back to New Jersey at the
Oh,
time.
okay,
My
okay.
grandparents, my
Cool.
mom's parents were getting sick, so we moved in with them to help take care of them. But I actually lived during that time all over the U.S. Georgia, Texas, Maryland, Philadelphia. Just following my dad. He's
Yeah.
playing, so we went wherever he went.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So you go to school at St. Peter's, and you play for St. Peter's, right?
Yeah.
And then where do you go from there?
So my junior year, sophomore year, I'm a 6th man of the conference. Figuring, gonna parlay that success into, a great junior year. End up breaking my neck my junior year.
No.
Yeah, 3 days before official practice, my legs were cut out under me during our optional open gym,
Yeah.
and my shooting arm, my shoulder blades popped out my season C7.
Oh, goodness. Wow. So
Yep. Can't make it up.
well,
Can't
no
make it up.
kidding, right? So what happens? So you get hurt, right? And then at some
Yep.
point, do they tell you that you're not going to be able to play?
So the funny thing is, I actually came back and played. Extensive nerve damage. I couldn't feel. I had no sensation in my dominant hand, which had its own issues.
Yeah.
But I ended up coming back and playing that season. And then my senior season, this is the great part. I actually had to have my pelvis reconstructed because my hip is broken.
Okay. How did you break your hip?
So apparently I had a genetic issue where the head of my femur was a rectangle in the ball socket. So my hip had been broken my entire career. Since birth, my hip was broken, and every time I rotated my leg, it was tearing away at the cartilage, the labrum. I chipped the bones off the front of the hip socket. Eventually, in practice, I got hit in the right spot and felt the pain from my entire lifetime after the muscles connecting my leg and my hip together severed.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay.
Yep.
So, okay. So, so then you have surgery?
I have surgery, but about 3 months later, they thought for the longest time it was a pulled groin, which was, I crawled to the training room, and, when I got down there, there was 2 torn Achilles, another girl had dislocated her shoulder, and I'm just sitting there on the table, and the trainer's just, he's so freaked out, he's got so much going on. I'm like, "Hey, I think my leg's messed up." And he's like, "Why?" I was like, "I can't lift it up. I
Yeah.
can't move it." And
Yeah.
he's like, "All right, move it." And I'm like, I'm trying right now. It's just lying dead on the table."
Right.
And they thought it was a whole groin for 3 months before having a pretty invasive uh, procedure done to look at the actual hip socket. And they saw that everything was completely torn apart.
Wow. So it was broken like by stress kind of thing, right?
It was broken just by nature, just not being the right shape, not
Yeah.
fitting in to my body.
So
It
like a
was just
stress kind of thing that, yeah, I got you.
yep,
Okay. So it wasn't like a
since birth.
car accident or any of that kind of thing.
No,
It was just
no.
use, right? And it was
Yep,
like you said, it was unfortunately shaped the wrong way from the beginning. And wow, that is crazy. Okay, so you have surgery,
yes.
and then what's the recovery like? Now you're a senior at St. Peter's?
I'm a senior at St. Peter's at
Okay.
this point. I would believe I was a projected second round draft pick at that point. But it was a 2-year recovery. I would have
Ooh,
rather had torn my Achilles than
yeah,
had this pelvic reconstruction. So it was a 2-year process to come back. I had to do 6 months of 5 days a week at the physical therapy,
yeah.
and then another 6 months, 1 day a week, and then an entire year with no physical activity whatsoever. I couldn't do anything. I could just walk and I'd work a regular life.
But no basketball, no.
No basketball, nothing strenuous, and everything's coming from the core there.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Yeah, you can't do nothing. You gotta just let it heal."
Wow. And it takes that kind of time for that pelvic reconstruction oh my
Yep,
goodness gracious. Wow.
yep,
So, okay. So it's the 2-year thing. So you do the rehab, then you
yes,
have to take a year and not do anything physical.
yep,
This is nuts. And
yeah.
then this is why we do this podcast, by the way, because this is the stuff that
You're
happens,
not ready
right?
to know this stuff, right? Yeah,
Right? No, it's just cool, man. It's like, oh, okay. So you're done with your senior season at St. Peter's. You're now a year out, right?
yep,
So
yep.
then after a year with no real physical activity, then you've got to get back in shape. So
Yeah,
it's
some
almost a
actually.
3-year thing, right?
Almost
Because
a 3-year thing. Yep.
because you've got to now train. I mean, you can lose a lot in a
Oh, yeah.
year in terms of conditioning, in terms
Yep.
of atrophy, in terms of, oh my goodness. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff, right? I mean,
Yep.
you name it.
Of course.
So, so you're going through this. What's your
Yes.
state of mind going through this? I mean, are you absolutely convinced that you're going to the NBA, or are you talk us through how this worked for you? Because it's crazy.
Sure. So, yeah, so it's interesting because at that point, my entire identity was shaped around basketball.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was.
born into basketball, it's a family business. I don't have anything. I don't know anybody else other than
Right,
Jordan,
right.
J Jordan Leonard, Costner, the basketball player.
Yeah,
And at some point, it's like I was in limbo for the entire time.
yeah,
Before I had surgery, I met with the orthopedic. He's great. He does all the, professional NBA, MLB players, and I'm sitting there on the table, and he's saying to me like, "Hey, do you want to play basketball again? Because you're probably not going to be able to. Like, we're just going to try to be able to get you to walk again." And I'm like, you know what? I'm not. It's going in one ear out the other.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Well,
angry that he's saying this.
and you're 22, 21.
21 years old,
Yeah. So you're bulletproof, right? Let's be honest.
Well, I'm bulletproof, exactly. Like what is this? It's just the injury. Like you're supposed to be the guy to fix it.
Yeah,
Let's go from
yeah,
there.
we're gonna just
It's a
yeah, this is gonna
scalpel,
be fine.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay,
yeah.
so your whole world is turned upside down. Okay.
Whole world is turned upside down, and
So
then
wow.
it's so essentially I'm mourning the death of who I am,
Yeah,
and
you
now
are.
I'm sitting there now with this shell of a person
Yeah,
who has to find an identity.
yeah.
Uh, like you said, I eventually start training again. At that point, my draft stock has dropped.
Oh,
You
sure.
know, all the work that I put in is
Out of
completely
sight, out
gone.
of mind, baby.
Exactly, but in order
Right?
to
And
be
you
able
didn't
to
have a senior season really, right?
didn't have
So
anything at all.
yeah, so I mean, wow.
Yeah, so we ended up going to the tournament my senior season.
Yeah,
Uh, we lose to Purdue, um, and eventually I start working out again.
yeah.
All that work that I put in for 21 years at that point was null and
Gone.
void.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it was a quote from what was that movie with John Krasinski? I forgot the name of the movie, but essentially he says that we're not trained. We're warriors. We're not trained to retire.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
I'm putting in 2 3 day training sessions
Mm.
since I think I'm 12 years old.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do? I'm just going to
Right.
get back in on the court. Start from wherever I am and go from there.
Do what you know.
Ended up
Yeah.
doing that. uh, get interest from European teams, get some contract offers, and then I end up retiring after I get invited to the D League at the time. The NBA's developmental league. They're now the G League,
Mhm.
but they invited me to come to their open run, and they offered me a contract. They tell me top two best players there.
Mhm.
Great to hear. This is the real competition really after the catastrophic injury.
Mhm.
And I remember walking out. I remember walking out the gym, head held high, and as soon as I was clear of anybody, I couldn't move. I was in so much pain because apparently I wasn't actually healthy. And I didn't actually get healthy until 2022 when I met two doctors who worked on me. And in 6 months, I can't make this up, in 6 months, they had me feeling about 80%.
Okay, hold on. Back up. Hold on. Okay, you lost me.
Yeah.
Okay, I love this stuff, by the way. I know you
Yeah.
can't tell because I hide it well, but let's go back just a second. Okay.
Sure.
So your senior season, you guys go to the NCAA
Yes.
turn the dance,
Yep.
lose to Purdue.
Lose Purdue.
You have another year of rehab to do after the surgery, right?
Yep.
And then you have a year that you have to take off.
Yes.
So then you go back and train.
Yes.
You go to the D League. Well, you actually got some offers from Europe.
Yep.
You go to the D League, which is now the G League, right? You go to
Yep.
the D League and you're the number two player there, that kind of thing, right?
At their open run. Yep.
Yeah, right. And
Yep.
then you walk out and and okay, what year is that?
Ooh, this was 20 let's say 2014?
Okay.
2015. Let's say it's 2015. Yeah.
So this is 2015 and okay,
Yep.
so say it again. You physically are just you can't move
Yeah.
because physically you
Yeah.
just can't.
I'm in so much pain that I walk out with my head up, thinking like, "Hey, if I do decide to, accept this contract that I'm
Right.
hoping is going to come now, since they had, such glowing
Sure.
remarks for me,
Yeah.
um, that I'll just push myself through it.
Okay.
Whatever the pain is, I'll just push myself through it. Hopefully, the trainers and the medical staff that they have are great and they're well enough to get me through this. But I'm finally at the point that I wanted to be at. I got a contract. I got a potential contract offer coming from the NBA.
Yeah.
I gotta walk out there and let these guys see that
Yeah.
I'm 100% ready to go.
Yeah. You got a pathway,
Yes.
right? Where you really didn't have one for a couple of years. Let's be honest, right? And that had to have been kind of a dark time. And
Yeah.
this is what you've been working for your whole life. So what was hurting?
Everything.
Wow.
Everything. So the vertebrae in my neck were so far out of alignment that I was having decreased functionality. I was running the functionality in my hand was running about my right arm was running about 10%. So I was constantly low blood flow, couldn't feel anything, constant cramping. The hand was essentially like just in firing in pain from the nerve so much. And because the top was hurting and the base was hurting, because my pelvis was floating at the time.
Mhm.
And this is what my doctor told me. He's like, orthopedic surgeon is really just there to attach everything, not to actually fix it.
Right.
So the top and the bottom were hurting, which was causing the entire spine to hurt, which shot everything. Every part of my body was on fire, and
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. So so I have a C2, and
okay,
I've never said this publicly, but
yeah.
I have a C2 that's turned 45 degrees.
Oh wow, okay,
And my chiropractor um basically, had films that he had taken, it was every 10 years or 12 years or whatever. And the last set of films, he pops it up on his illuminated board and he goes, here's the good news. Your scoliosis is gone, right? Here's the bad news. And he flops this thing up and he goes, you see that? And I said, yeah, that's my mouth. And he goes, yeah, that's your C2. They take it through your mouth when they do x-rays.
yep.
And he goes, it's turned 45 degrees. He goes, Mike, that's the worst I've ever seen in 20 years of chiropractic.
Jeez, that's insane.
Right. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, and there's no way to fix it. There's no way to, I'm like, okay. And his
Yeah.
wife is standing next to me. And I didn't know why, right? Standing next to me. And I said, Doc, you just confirmed for us medically what we already knew. And he goes, what's that? And I said, that I'm twisted. And his wife looked at me with kind of this not so nice, it just walked out. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Right. And he goes, she was here in case you broke down. She was here to comfort you.
Oh wow.
So I go home and I'm like, I tell my wife what happened. And she goes, do you think humor was appropriate at that moment? It's like, well, I'm not going to cry about it. It is what it is. Right. I mean, what am I going to do? Right.
What are you gonna do? What are you
You know
gonna
what I
do?
mean?
Actually, I think
So,
chiropractors might be the funniest people there are. I don't know. My
yeah.
chiropractor,
Right. I mean,
hilarious.
come
Yeah.
on. So, how misaligned are or were your vertebrae in your neck?
I had 4 misalignments.
Oh, got it. Okay. So not just one.
Yeah, I had 4 misalignments in my neck, and then 5 all the way down the spine, and then the ligament in my surgically repaired hip wasn't connected to my pelvis, so then he had to connect that as well. So I'd been playing. I'd come back, I was playing and doing everything.
Number two in the G
Number
League.
2,
Hello.
exactly. So, wow, it's right, exactly. So they're offering me comfort. They're like, "Hey, you probably should at least feel good that you did all this stuff. This is probably than fixing me, that you were able to have the career that you had."
Yeah. It was almost sheer will, right?
My doctor what was his analogy? He said, "You're a Formula One car with the bad computer, shot brakes, and pretty much everything falling off the rig."
Unbelievable.
I was like,
Unbelievable.
"Okay." They're like, we'll fix you in 2 months." I'm like, "Oh, wow. All right."
Yeah. So, okay. So what happens? So you basically you're in so much pain you can't move, right?
Yep.
So there's really no way to go forward with the NBA option. So what do you do? What do you like? Walk us through this, because I cannot imagine, like, going through what you've been through, right, was already traumatic enough, and then basically your body is telling you physically that you're not going to be able to do this anymore.
Yes.
Okay. So
But
what was that like?
uh that was just the same thing,
You're like a
not
ripe
built
old age of 22, right?
25 yeah, I was 25. I was
Okay,
25 at
25.
the time.
Okay. So you're 25
So
years old.
yes.
You're still bulletproof, right? But
Yep.
you're 25 years old, and you wow. Okay. So what happens next?
So I work I start coaching right after college, after graduating.
Yeah.
Ended up coaching at Montclair Kimberly Academy, the school that Kyrie Irving actually played at for
Yeah, yeah.
his freshman and sophomore years.
Yeah, yeah.
Fun fact, I actually almost went to MKA, so he and I would have been playing together his sophomore year or his freshman year, whatever.
Yeah.
Then
Crazy.
I'm coaching, and then eventually go into sales. My dad's been working now in sales for 20 plus years.
Mhm.
He's like, "Oh, you're a charismatic guy. You're good with people. Should give this a crack." So I'm like, "Hey, you know what? You've been where I wanted to be. You've done
Yeah.
everything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I'll just listen to you." So I'm at this point now. I'm working a regular life,
Mhm.
and once the contract does come in, it's not it's not anything close to what I'm making, doing sales.
Right.
Added to the fact that I'm in so much pain.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? Let's just. I don't say I'm retired. I don't use those words.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, you know what? I can't accept it, and I just start working, and eventually get transferred down to Charlotte. And you're gonna love this. So I'm down in Charlotte, and I'm training, trying to get healthy.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm in the gym because the Greensboro Swarm actually reached out to me and asked me to come and work out for them.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but while I'm in the gym, a gentleman who works with the Panthers, with the Carolina Panthers, sees me, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to come try out to play tight end." And you know
Yeah.
what? I'd rather do that.
Yeah. It's the Anthony Gates model,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yep. So I
I
was
love it.
working out, and I put on the weight. I went from I was about 220, 230 at the time. Put on 30 pounds. Got my weight PRs up. I was benching 400, and my wife is like, you know what? If you do end up doing that and you go paralyzed, because the doctor said if you get hit in your neck again, you might be done.
You're done.
I
Yeah.
said, if you get paralyzed, I'm not staying. And I was like, all right, I guess I won't do it.
A little bit of an ultimatum.
A little bit of ultimatum. But I was like, it's a little bit of a catch 22, right? If I do make the team, they got the best doctors in the world. Hey, somebody be able to figure it out. All I'm trying to
Okay.
do is be a red zone tight end.
I got you. Okay. So this is that champion reel in your mind, right?
Yep.
This is the nothing's gonna get me down thing. I'm just
Yep.
gonna push through. I'm gonna make this work. I love that
Exactly.
about you. I also love the fact that your wife said, "I'm putting my foot down." You know what I mean? Okay. So what happens after that? This is fascinating. This is why we
Yeah.
do this, by the way.
Yeah. So we stayed in Charlotte for a year, moved back up to the Northeast, and then I'm just working. And then when COVID rolls around, I end up writing my fourth and fifth books during COVID. So I haven't done any for my book at all, for book
Right.
one at all. After in 2012 when I wrote it and published it, I just put it out there, kind of like a bucket list thing. Hey, I got this idea in my head. Let me just see it through. I put it out there. It's received well, but again,
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.